Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside, of course, each and every week is LPGA professional and Legends Tour player Cindy Miller, and we are the hosts of the Women of Golf Show. Cindy, welcome back.
Well, thank you, Ted. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we had a couple of weeks. Actually, I was had somebody scheduled last week, and unfortunately, they weren't able to make it, so I ended up ultimately canceling. Cindy was, of course, at the KPMG championship, and we're going to talk to her a little bit about that. But let me just remind everybody, of course, we are live here on blogtalkradio.com every Tuesday morning, unless otherwise stated, from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the quickest way to go to find us is go to blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, and that will bring you right to the main page. And always during the live broadcast, we're right there at the top. Otherwise, if you're not able to join us live, and you're going to listen to the recorded version, just scroll down to the on-demand section, and that will have the previously aired shows as well. Also, for those of you that like to surf around on iTunes, go to iTunes under the podcast section, and it's at itunes.com. And again, just type in the search key Women of Golf, and that will take you to the main page there on iTunes for those of you that like to listen at that format. You can also speak to us live during the broadcast if you want. You can call in at area code 347-945-5855, and you can also email any questions or comments about the show to womenofgolf@gmail.com. And also, for those of you that maybe are interested, if you're in the golf profession, maybe you're a teacher, coach, or an entrepreneur, maybe an author like one of our guests today, and you'd like to join us for some discussion on the program, you can reach out to Cindy at cindymillergolf.com. You can also reach out to me as well at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. Got a great show for you this morning. Cindy and I are going to be welcoming here just shortly Jackie Stoelting. She's the winner of the 2016 Fuccillo Kia Championship, which was held, I think, the week before last, if I'm not mistaken, at Capitol Hill in Albany, New York. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by Sue Wieger, who is the #1 best-selling author and keynote speaker, and she's also a 22-year veteran as a LPGA Class 8 golf professional. She'll be joining us in the conversation a little bit later on in the show. But Cindy, while we're waiting for Jackie, and I was starting to tell you just before we came on air a few moments ago, Jackie is actually, I think, at an event as we speak, and she's out, I guess, in a practice round. So she's going to be calling in from on the golf course. So she's not going to have a lot of time with us this morning, but she is going to make every attempt to call in while she's, I guess, on her practice round, and to have a little bit of discussion about her win and so forth. But you were at the KPMG last week. How did it go?
I was. So the executive committee of the LPGA gets together 3 times a year, and we have meetings to discuss the strategy and what's going on with the LPGA. And we met last week, and we had a leadership meeting with the commissioner of the LPGA, Mike Wan. And then we had the chance to teach a clinic to all the high-powered women executives from KPMG and their guests from all over the country. And that was really fun on Tuesday. And then we went to a reception Tuesday night. And then Wednesday we were able to listen in on the KPMG Women's Summit, where we got to hear Condoleezza Rice and Annika Sorenstam, and it was great. It was a great week. I was so grateful I got to be able to be there.
You know, what's interesting about what you were just saying is this is really an opportunity. I mean, as you and I both know, women's golf is growing leaps and bounds. In fact, it is growing faster than any other demographic in the golf industry right now. Juniors is probably a close second, but women's golf is joining. So this is really a great opportunity to reach out to a lot of women executives with some of the new trends, if you will, that's happening in women's golf, correct?
Absolutely. But mainly it's to teach them, the logo or the mantra for the whole week was inspire greatness. And so how do you inspire greatness? You teach people how to lead, you teach people how to dream, you encourage and inspire people. So it was really very, very uplifting. It was awesome.
Yeah, and Condoleezza Rice, of course, most of you know her from her time in Washington, but she's also an avid golfer, very avid golfer. And, of course, we all know legendary Annika Sorenstam, who has won multiple majors on the LPGA Tour and is just a phenomenal player. And, of course, is not playing regularly on the tour anymore, but just doing so much to give back to golf. So two great powerhouse women, of course, to be a part of that summit, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it was just, very uplifting.
Exactly. Well, as I mentioned, Cindy, Jackie Stoelting is going to be joining us here, and I see she's ready right now, so we better bring her out because she's, as I understand, she's going to be out in the golf course, so we want to give her an opportunity to come in and talk with us. So let me just bring in the winner of the Symetra Tour's 2016 Fuccillo Kia Championship, as I said, which held in Capitol Hill in Albany, New York. So let's bring on Jackie Stoelting.
Good morning,
Jackie.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We're honored and glad. Now, Brett Lesky, of course, who is the media coordinator for the Symetra Tour, mentioned that you were actually out on the golf course this morning. Is that correct? I
am. I'm trying to get a practice round in, so just on the third hole here and making a little pit stop.
Okay. Well, we appreciate that, and you can't ask for a better scenario than that. So what event are you? You're obviously in an event this week. What's the event?
Yes, it's the Four Winds Casino, I believe, Invitational, and we're in South Bend, Indiana at Blackthorn Golf Club.
Wow. Very cool. Well, I know you don't have a lot of time, so let me just read out something real quick, and then we just have a few questions for you, and I know that you have to go, so we appreciate you taking this time. As I mentioned, of course, you won the Fuccillo Kia Championship, which I believe was, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Right. And you actually made, as I understood, a 28-footer on the second playoff hole to fend off Emma Talley, who, of course, was also in the hunt as well. And then the two of you went in to a playoff, and you ultimately finished with a 9-under, 204 as your total score to win that playoff. Tell us, first off, obviously this was win number 3 for you, first of the year. How did it feel, obviously, to win the tournament, especially in that format? And how did you handle your nerves during the playoff?
Well, it was really exciting for me to win that tournament because my parents actually grew up in that area, and it was my in 2008, I believe, as my first professional tournament was at that. So there's a lot of so there's a lot of memories, and I've played well there in the past. I had the lead a few years ago and didn't win, so to finally be able to win in front of I had quite a bit of family and friends up there. Was really special to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and my dad was on the bag, so that was really awesome to have him there. But to make a putt when it really matters and to birdie a hole to win, I can't say there's a lot of better feeling than that. It was really exciting. It was nerve-wracking too, obviously playing in a playoff. But to be honest, when I made the turn, I was 2 over on my round, and I was 2 shots back, and I made 3 birdies coming in on my last, I think, 5 or 6 holes. So I was finally got my act together and put some good holes coming in. And so I kind of had that momentum going into the playoffs. Unfortunately, Emma hit a bad shot in the second playoff hole, and she had probably about 8 feet for bogey. So I could 2-putt, but I had been leaving my putts all short all day. And I hit it a little firm, but it went in the middle of the cup. So I was kind of glad it hit the hole. But it's really exciting to be able to birdie to win a tournament.
That's awesome. Let me ask you a question. How did you change your mindset from the front 9 being 2 over to the back 9 in the pursuit of give it all you got? What did you do?
Well, I think I've probably heard it a lot on, watching golf on TV, but they really say tournaments don't start until the back 9 on Sunday. And that's what I told myself. And I hadn't played bad on the front, but I had 2-3 putts, and I was 2 over on the front, and I wasn't. It was windy, and when we made the turn, the wind kind of died down, and the back nine I had played well all week. I had shot a 30 on the back nine and a 32 on the back nine, so I knew that I could play well on that side, and I made, I think, like a 12-footer on maybe my 13th hole, and the next hole I got a really good kick, and I hit it to about 4 feet from the hole, and I just kind of went smooth sailing from there. I think sometimes you just need a good break, and that's kind of what I got, and that really helped me shoot some low numbers on the back there.
Let me ask you a question. I'm on the website now. It shows you've only played twice this year. Is that true?
No. This year? No, I've played every tournament. I played every tournament.
Oh, okay. It said view all results. Okay, got it. Now, do you have any status at all on the LPGA Tour?
No. I lost all my status from last year, and then at Q School, I missed status by 2 strokes. So just focusing out here on the Smash Tour, I did qualify for the Open, so I am going to play in that in a couple weeks. But no, mostly I'm just going to stay on the Smash Tour and try and earn my card that way.
Perfect. And where did you go to college?
I went to Florida Southern College. It's a small school, Lakeland, Florida.
Yeah,
yep.
Lakeland. That's a great school. Are you kidding?
It is a great school. I mean, we won a national championship my junior year, so we had a pretty good golf team.
Yeah. Now, When did your parents move away from Albany?
When they went to college.
Okay.
And they haven't moved. I never lived there. We still, like I said, we still have some family, and they have quite a bit of friends up there.
Oh, that's good, because I live in Buffalo, so I like New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to be in Rochester?
I will be there.
Good. I'm going to come and find you with all my little LPGA Girls Golf Club girls. So you have to be friendly to us.
Oh, that'll be great.
I'll be the old lady with all these cute little ducklings behind me.
Oh, good.
Jackie, let me ask you real quick. Obviously coming into another tournament here, pretty much fresh. I mean, I know it was a couple of weeks ago, but it's still fresh in your mind, your win up in Albany and that. What's your mindset coming into the tournament this week?
To be honest, I won twice last year. When I lost my card in LPGA, I went and played 3 Smash Tour events, and I won back-to-back, and there's actually a week off in between. So for me, I'm having similar thoughts and feels like I did last year when I won the first time and then had a week off. So my game feels really good, and I really like this golf course. I finished 3rd here 2 years ago, so I'm excited to play this week, and I'm just going to try and keep the momentum going.
Fantastic. What do you consider your strongest part of the game, and what's your weakest area of your game?
I would say strongest is right now my ball striking. I've been hitting it really close, and fortunately lately I've been making a lot of the putts. And probably my weakest part of my game is my bunker play, but I have a solution. It's just don't hit into bunkers.
Right.
Smart girl.
Yeah, that's a good thing, and that all falls in really to the mental side of the game as well as strategy and not allowing. As you know, Jackie, I'm sure playing as a professional, you hear this a lot from amateurs, that a lot of amateurs fear the bunker shots. They just, once they see it going in the sand, fear just sort of creeps in. As a professional, that's obviously a little different kettle of fish. Most professionals don't really fear bunker shots, but what do you say to yourself when on occasion you do hit it into a bunker? What do you say to yourself as you prepare for the shot?
I don't have that fear with bunkers. I think for me more it's just, giving myself an opportunity to get it up and down. But, my biggest thing is making sure that I hit down on the sand, trying not to pick it clean. And I think the biggest thing for me is as I travel each week, bunkers are different. And so that,
right.
Sometimes the consistency of sand is different. And so for me, that's kind of where I struggle, is trying to figure out, Is it a thin lie? Is it a thicker lie with sand? So, I'm really just trying to picture and visualize the shot.
Yeah, I agree, and I think a lot of amateurs don't practice their bunker play very much, and that's probably why they fear that shot so much. And obviously, a lot of professionals, you get in the sand, you'll throw several balls in there, and you'll practice and get a feel of the lay of the land, if you will, or how the sand is feeling in that particular golf course. And as you said, just pointed out, it changes from week to week. Different areas of the country are going to, obviously the sand is going to react and feel a little bit differently from, down south up to, of course, up in Albany. What do you see moving forward for Jackie? Obviously you want to get back on the LPGA Tour ultimately, but what's your goal? What's your short-term goals, and what are your long-term goals?
This year I'm really trying to just focus on playing good golf every week. And I think if you can do that, then everything will take care of itself. But obviously finishing in the top 10 is a goal. At the beginning of the year, my goal was to be Player of the Year, but Madeline Satcham has really started off really hot. So she's, I think, about $70,000 ahead. So I have a little bit of work to do that. But, for me, it's just I want to be able to walk off each round and feel like I did my best that day no matter what the score is. So, I think with golf, like you said about mental game, is that you just have to be satisfied and happy and commit to every shot. And I would say that's definitely short-term goal is if I can commit to every single shot, hopefully I can play well enough to win again. So, hopefully I can do that. And there's plenty of tournaments left, and I'm excited for the rest of the year out here.
Yeah, well said. And I'm quite certain from what we've read that there won't be an issue for you to put another one under your belt very, very quickly, maybe even this week, coming off an earlier win. Cindy, I know we've got to let her go. Do you have anything else that you want to ask her before we let her get back to her practice round?
Did you win a free car?
Did I what?
Did you win a free car?
I did. I won a Kia Forte. So my dad's actually flying up on next week and driving it home for me. So since I'm out on tour,
cool.
I can't really go pick it up. So I've never won a car, so that was really exciting. Usually you have to make a hole in one to do that, and all I had to do was make a hole in two on the last hole, I guess.
Good for you.
That's awesome.
Congratulations, my dear.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Have a great
Jackie,
week.
Again, you have a great week. Congratulations again, and much continued success, and you're welcome back anytime. Hopefully you'll be able to spend a little bit more time with us, but thank you for taking some time this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. That was Jackie Stoelting, winner of the Symetra Tour's Fuccillo Kia Championship up in Albany, New York. I've said this probably 100 times at least, if not more. What's very interesting about a lot of these young ladies that come on here, particularly from the Symetra Tour, Cindy, is just the positive energy, number one, but just the confidence that they have in their games. I mean, they, when you ask them about what's their weak game, I mean, they all have, we all have an area that needs work on, but they just seem to have a confidence and assurance. And that's not arrogance or cockiness or what have you. That's just the confidence of knowing and the self-assuredness because they've been out there and they're working hard, just as you have over the years, and you're confident in many areas of your game as well. And that's just a testament to what some of the young ladies that are coming up through the ranks, if you will, in women's golf.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's hard work, and it's the character that they develop in the process. To me,
Right.
They understand, they learn so much about themselves, they gain confidence, awareness, and the support. Her dad was on the bag, they happened to be at home,
Yep.
She made the birdie putt. It's like, wow, how cool is this?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I want to just go back. Well, we've got a few minutes here before Sue joins us on the discussion this morning. Again, you were at the KPMG last week, and a lot of great things. What do you hope? First off, what did you take away from the summit, and what do you hope with some of the efforts that are made at that particular event and through the summit? what do you see happening in women's golf as you move forward from that?
I see that companies are becoming aware that they need to help the women become better leaders and get behind them on the bandwagon. So the PGA of America ran this event, and they're 20-some thousand strong, with their secretary being Susie Whaley. And
right.
Susie will be the president in, I think, 2020 of the PGA of America, which is the first time a woman will ever be the president of the PGA of America. So I think they see what's coming and that they need to pay attention. And it was really nice to see them becoming aware of that and, pulling all punches just to say this is, inspire greatness. These are the women of golf, and they're the best in the world, and there's a bunch of women leaders. So there were women from all over the place. I mean, I taught people from Amazon, from Chevron, from KPMG to KKR to all kinds of companies from all over the country. And it was just very, very cool to see.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think organizations are starting to see, and I think really a lot of it, and I hate to, this is a word that gets thrown around a lot, but it really has been over the years a grassroots movement. It's taken a while for corporate America to finally sort of open its eyes and recognize that women are a powerful force and can be in, both on and off the golf course and in and out of business. And I think they're starting to realize, with the help of great ladies like yourself and many of the others throughout the golf organizations. But I think they're starting to recognize that this is an avenue that they need to take seriously, and I'm glad that they are, because it's exciting. I think the next decade is going to be very, very exciting. Not that the last several decades haven't been, but I think it's even going to be more exciting as we move forward in women's golf.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah, and not just on the tours either. I mean, obviously that's always gaining momentum, but it's just interesting because, we've had the pleasure of having a number of different, women guests who are entrepreneurs, not just in the golf business, but who play golf and use it as a valuable business tool. And I think they're starting to recognize that now, just some of the many advantages of playing golf and what you see so many of them want to give back too. They've recognized what it's done for them business-wise and how it's helped and enriched their lives, and now they're wanting to give back. And it was interesting. I laughed, obviously not on air, but I laughed inside when you said about, all these little ducklings following you, going to Rochester. And it just goes to show you that, what you're doing now is really a mentorship for a lot of these young kids, and especially these young girls. They're going to be the future of the game.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. And so that's it's fun because the girls on the Symetric Tour, when they first look at you, they're like, okay, who's the old lady? But then when you show them how, warm, caring, loving, and how uplifting you can be, their whole mindset changes. And they're like, oh, okay, she's not a grumpy old witch. Again, it's a matter of giving back and caring and showing them you care. And I think then, they might be open to asking questions. And they don't realize that you've been where they want to go. So, how many U.S. Opens has she played in? I don't know. Clearly she's going to play in one in a couple of weeks. I've played in 5, And so, again, it's just, but they don't see that because sometimes they don't think about the past. They don't understand that someone's been in their shoes. And I think it's very good for them to realize that and to say, hold out your hand and say, hey, I'm here to help if you want it. And it's funny that you said that because we brought that up at the executive committee meeting because there's another young girl when I was at the Symetric Tour Legends Tour event in South Carolina. Her name is Emma Jandal, which I'm going to reach out to her and see if I can get her on the show.
Okay.
And I think I mentioned this after I was there, and she said, you really know how to give a clinic. Can you teach us that? And during the executive committee meeting, Vicki Getz Ackerman and Mike Wan, I said, I'm open and willing to help teach these kids how to relate to people better. Because sometimes all they do is put their head down and play golf, and they don't know how to look out in the gallery and see that that's who's paying the bill. And if I can help them relate to the people better, then I can help them get more sponsors. And, again, why am I here and what can I do to help you? And that's, I think, the mindset we need to have. Yeah,
you're so right. I see that it looks like Sue's ready to come on board, so let's bring her on. Let me just do a quick introduction here, and then we'll bring her on and continue on our conversation. Our very special guest coming up the second half of the show, of course, is Sue Wieger. She is the #1 best-selling author, a keynote speaker, and a 22-year veteran as a Class A LPGA golf professional. She also operates her own golf academy, which is a multi-service golf instructional business. The SWGA, which is the Sue Wieger Golf Academy for short, is a comprehensive learning and performance institute which incorporates innovative golf biomechanics, club fitting, golf fitness, and mental training to maximize each individual player's potential. She also creates and develops team building, motivational, and sports enhancement training for corporation schools and universities, and she has a master's in psychology and bachelor's degree in education. And we're going to talk to her about really kind of an interesting book that I want to learn a little bit more about, and that's Golf, the Last 6 Inches. Change your brain, change your game. We're going to talk to her a little bit about that as well. So let's bring on our very special guest, Sue Wieger.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning. Well,
Good morning and welcome to the show, Sue.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on.
Well, we appreciate it. Sue, let me just, since I sort of let the cat out of the bag, if you will, a little bit, let me just ask you the first and foremost. I found it very interesting when I was reading through some of the notes that your book, the Golf, the Last 6 Inches, Change Your Brain, Change Your Game. Cindy and I have talked about this many, many times in the show about really the mental aspect of the game really being sort of at the forefront of being a good golfer, I think. Having a physical ability is great, but really how the mind works and how it can help you navigate. So tell us a little bit what went behind the book in putting this book together, and a little bit of what readers can find in the book.
Yeah, I put the book together because I've been doing workshops for the last 5 years, and, I asked people, we talked about the golf, and we asked, the first question we always ask them is, so how many of you think, what percentage of your golf game is mental? And 100% of the time, whenever we get the answers to this question, everyone says, it's at least 80%, maybe 90%. Some of them say 100%. So my next question to them is, saying, well, how are you training for it? What tools and strategies are you using? What are you doing on the practice range? What are you doing on the golf course to help yourself, create a peak performance mindset? And most of them look at me like a deer in a headlight. Because they don't know. And that's what the book is about, is to teach people how to basically think differently, feel differently, and play differently. Because that's what they're looking for. They're looking to understand, why can I do it? Why can I hit a really good shot, and then the next time I don't do it? And so the book gives people tools to help them understand what they can actually experience on the golf course and understand the difference between non-peak performance mindset and peak performance mindset. That's where it comes from.
Right. Let me ask you just a little bit, because what's interesting in part of the title, of course, is to change your brain, change your game. What is typically sort of the mindset of the average golfer, and what specifically are you trying to help them to understand they need to, what changes are you looking for should golfers, and I'm talking, of course, about the amateur golfers, not the professionals, but the amateurs particularly. What's sort of their mindset now, day to day, if you will, on the golf course, and where are you trying to get them to?
Yes, most of them, we talk about patterns and, what their behavior does, and the first thing that's for them to understand is thoughts control their emotions, and emotions control their actions and their decisions. And so a typical amateur golf course or a golfer will come up with their self-talk is typically like this. I don't belong here. I don't trust myself. They use the word trying a lot. They don't use the word trust. They use the word trying. So their self-talk is very limiting in regards to their belief system, because your belief system, your self-talk comes from your belief system. So they have lack of trust. They are very focused on mechanical mode versus playful mode, understanding the difference between mechanics and just playing. They have a lot of negative self-talk, and there's a lot of self-doubt. And so that's basically what we call a definition of the non-peak performance mindset. What we're going to teach them to do using the tools in the book is to get them to understand what a peak performance mindset is, which is, trusting yourself, and having a different positive self-talk in your pre-shot routine, and even after in the post-shot routine. It's really important to understand what your state and your story is, because you'll change your strategy based on that. They'll have empowering beliefs. We teach them how to, there's a tool in the book called Create It, Name It, Train It, and it's meaning creating your peak performance state, really physically and emotionally what that is to them, so that they can anchor that inside the body, and that they can call it up when they need to, so they can trust themselves. They have a different direction with self-talk. They're only focused on themselves rather than working on other external distractions, and teaching them what playful means in regards to the game, because the game is about playing, not about thinking all the time about how to do something.
Right. Well said. As I'm sure you know, Cindy is a big proponent of this as well. And, Cindy, I know you've probably got a myriad of questions as well to ask. So I'm going to let you go ahead and ask some questions now.
How do you teach them to play more? Because I totally agree with everything you're saying, and I'm so glad you wrote the book, and it's awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We teach them what's called a little triad. It's called focus, language, and physiology. It actually comes from Tony Robbins' teaching of peak performance. And we teach them about where their focus is, because most of the focus is, like you said, is, like we talked about, is their focus is on mechanics. We teach them to focus differently out in front, rather than what's right in front of them, called a golf ball. For example, we would teach them in regards to, it's all about focus on the target. And some of them, as you all know, everyone's a little different in regards to how they learn visually, auditory, and kinesthetically. So we teach them in regards to the first thing we do in our workshops is we go out and play 6 holes, and all we do is journal their self-talk. And we listen to what they say to themselves. We listen to what they say to each other, because their their self-talk comes from their belief system and their subconscious. So you can rewire the subconscious, because usually, as in regards to understanding, the subconscious is 95% of your operating system. So it will always default back to, so you could say to yourself, for example, self-talk, I'm a great putter, I'm a great putter, I'm a great putter. But on the other side of your shoulder is saying, okay, that's BS, you're not. And that's your true belief in your subconscious coming out, and will always override that conscious thought of saying, I'm a good putter, because it's your true belief system. So you can teach people how to, not only with self-talk, but you have to wire that in the nervous system, and that's where the physiology comes in. So, for example, when you walk up into a pre-shot routine, what's your body actually not only feeling like, besides just feeling confident, but be playful. Like, have some fun. Use playful language instead of the limiting belief language of, like, well, I'm afraid I'm going to miss this putt low, or I'm afraid. It starts with their self-talk, and then the next thing, it starts with their language, or not their language, but the physiology of their body. So the Name It, Train It, or Create It, Name It, Train It tool is just an internal scorecard to understand what they're doing over golf shots. So we teach them on the range, and then we go on the golf course, but if we teach them on the range, it's like, okay, we're going to hit 10 shots, and I want you to walk up and just feel like you're a kid again. I want you to go to what we call your happy place, and I'm sure you've heard that before. It's like you get to pick where that happy place is. And it's creating a different state in your mind, or in your mind emotionally and physically when you're standing over the ball. It's not about like, I'm afraid to hit the shot. So they have to go back to being children again, in the sense of their physical body and emotionally, like, hey, I'm just going to have fun. I don't have expectations, because it becomes, they're so worried about the outcome instead of just creating. And we teach them how to create things rather than worrying about the outcome. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
How do you rewire the subconscious? Give me an example. Like you say, "Oh, I'm a great putter," and your internal dialogue is, "Oh no, my God, you aren't. You suck."
Right. There's a technique that I learned that you rewire your system. It's through what's called Psych K. It comes from there's a great book out there with Dr. Bruce Lipton. It's called The Biology of Belief, and it's a neuroscience a book understanding that our cells have memory, not our muscles. And in order to rewire something, you have to anchor it and you have to emotionalize it. So here's an example. Let's say you hit a golf shot, and afterwards you throw a club because you're upset about the club or upset about the shot. Excuse me. And so what happens is that physical motion actually is anchoring in that emotion in your nervous system. So whatever you highly emotionalize, you will anchor it in your long-term memory. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if on a good shot, because I ask my players all the time, I said, after a good shot, what do you say to yourself? What do you do? And they're like, some of them are like saying, well, I really don't do anything. I'll just say, oh, good shot. They never own it. They never emotionalize it. Whether or not you do it externally or internally, you must emotionalize it because that's where you'll bring that experience into your subconscious and you'll what I want to say is anchor it into your long-term memory. Too many times golfers pay attention because we're wired for negativity because our brain and our nervous system is wired for fight or flight because that's the way we're made. So we need to, after a shot, whether or not it is a good shot or if it's a good shot, we want to emotionalize it. You want to own it. You want to say to yourself, well, that was me, rather than well, that was just lucky. That's a different self-talk. And then after a bad shot, so what do people do after a bad shot?
So let me ask you a question, and let me ask you a question that I was thinking here while you were talking. If somebody is utilizing some of the different techniques that you talk about in the book, and obviously we know that any change that you make takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But let's say, somebody's using the different techniques and obviously the first few times that they're doing it, they're going to have some successes. They're going to have some failures, if you will. What do you do at that point afterwards? Let's say they've gone out and played a round of golf and they're trying some of the different things that you're doing while they're playing, and they come out and still maybe haven't utilized some of the success that they're hoping for. What do they do now? What steps do they do now to not sort of allow themselves to fall back?
Well, again, just like anything else, they always say perfect practice makes perfect performance, but it's not about perfect. We're human beings. We're not human doings. So our body changes every day. Our as far as with golfers, because we're such in a dynamic movement in regards to when we play, you have to be more accepting with yourself and understand that, yes, this is a process. And it's not about consistency. It's about modification and understanding how to utilize the tools and be mindful to understanding, well, what can I learn about myself today? And who am I today? Because if yesterday you're hitting a 6-iron 150 yards and today you're not, that's normal. But people beat themselves up all the time thinking, well, I should be this person yesterday. I'm like, no, we're in the present. We focus on what's here and now versus, what happened before. So it's a matter of understanding who you are, trusting yourself every day, and ask yourself, okay, what was good about today? What did I learn about myself today? And that's, you're right. It takes a process. And golf is like life, and life is like golf. It's a journey. We have expectations based on, we have a practice round and we shoot our best score, and then the next day in the tournament we don't have the best score, but we have expectations thinking we're going to have that. And that's not what golf and life's about. It's understanding what we do here and now and what we learn from ourselves, and we become mindful of that. I hope that answered your question.
Right. No, that's perfect. And just one sort of quick follow-up, and then Cindy, I'll jump back to you. you obviously have heard, the expression, I'm sure many times, as Cindy and I both have in our golf experiences. Amateurs will come up to you and say, well, how do I take my range game out on the golf course? How do you respond to somebody that tells you that?
The first question I ask them is, what are you doing on the practice range? Really pay attention to be mindful of what are you doing on the range. Are you just hitting balls? Are you having fun? You have no expectations, because we're in a totally different state of mind when we're on the practice range. People don't practice like they play. And that's the problem. We have to teach our players how to practice the play, not to practice the swing. And that's a whole different way of understanding and a philosophy of going to the range, like Vision 54 says, practice with a purpose. Why are you here? And most people they don't understand why they're there. And so their state of mind is different. There's no pressure. There's no expectations. And so they perform different. And then as soon as they get on the golf course, what happens? There's an expectation. There's stress. They're in a different state of mind. Physically, they even feel different because they're nervous. So things, you want to call it an out-of-body experience, that's what happens.
Right, exactly. Where can the listeners, if they're interested in getting a copy of the book, where can they go to find it?
It is on Amazon right now. You can get it both digitally and both in paperback. If anybody wants a personal signed copy, just send me an email through my website at SueWiegerGolf.com, and it's SueWieger golf.com. And you can see I'm doing some retreats. We're doing a Sedona retreat in October if they want to experience what we do. And then I also do book signings, and I'm traveling around a little bit this summer, just running into country clubs and running one-day workshops to just explain to people why mental golf training is important.
That's awesome.
Right, exactly. Well said. Cindy?
Tell us about the one-day workshops. How do you do them? Where are you going? How much are they? How do people set one up if they want to go?
Yeah, if you, I can set up a custom workshop, with someone at a country club. We do host and keynote speakers. They can just contact me through the website. The one-day programs, depending on the facility, the cost usually runs as far as like a full-day program is like $399. The one in Sedona that we're going to run is a 4-night, 5-day stay, and it's about $2,400. It includes basically it's all included. We're going to have some experiential things with some pink Jeep tours in Sedona and play some golf and do our mental golf trainings in the morning. So it'll be a full, total immersion, as I call total immersion mind and body program.
And do they play
fantastic.
golf in the afternoon?
Yes, we will do clinics in the mornings, what I call mental golf training, just to understand, what to do, experience exactly how to practice differently on the range, and then take that application right onto the golf course. And they do play in the afternoons, and so that way they can experience the tools and use them as practice to get on the golf course without any pressure, so that they can start learning, how to change their state, how to change their focus, how to change their language right there on the golf course, and just experience the difference of like, this is a different experience on how to play golf.
Right, that's awesome. And do you go out there on the course with them?
Oh, of course, yes, because we take our ACE Performance Journal, because in the book you can download the ACE Performance Journal for free. And so you would read it, for example, read a chapter and then go into the ACE Performance Journal and actually practice some of the tools and the techniques in the journal. So it's kind of a fun working book. It's not just where your book sits on your table. And I like to have people engaged in their learning, so that's why we created the ACE Performance Journal, so they can actually experience and work through the journal and understand, like one of the questions is, are you a visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learner? You don't even know. And are you practicing, with that modality in mind?
Perfect. That's great.
Very good. Yeah. And they can get more information about these different clinics on your website, Sue, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And it's SueWiegerGolf.com. And they can email me through the website, and We'll be hosting some webinars.
And get all the...
Yeah, and giving out some information. And we'll be hosting some webinars on the book just to further explain the tools and helping people understand what, like, again, to think, feel, and play better. We're just trying to promote the game and help people understand that, wow, I can play. Because they've all hit a great golf shot. It's like, how do I do that again?
Right, exactly. Sue, I wanted to talk about something, if we can, just a little bit. I mentioned earlier in the program, how so many golfers and golf professionals give back. It's not just about giving lessons and helping, different folks learn the game, but it's also giving back to the community at large. And as I know from reading through some of the notes that Cindy had sent over, that you survived breast cancer actually for over 15 years now, and you host a program called Golf for Life. Tell us a little bit about that, what the program does, and how you're helping to not only create further awareness, but how you're helping to different women deal with some of the issues that they're going to be dealing with.
Yeah, breast cancer was a gift for me. That's how I look at it, because it really changed my life for the better, because it really woke me up. It really taught me about mindfulness, and I found yoga, and it really changed the trajectory of my life because of just the 6 weeks of recovery. You just start to really think about why you're here on this earth. And the Golf for Life program is just my way of definitely helping other women understand that the cancer, the C word is not death. It's just the start of a new life. And
right.
So it's Golf for Life is about empowering women, and that's basically what it is to give them an opportunity to understand life is not over, and that your experience could be a gift. There's a reason things happen. And it's all about mindset. It's like, what are you going to take from what's good about this? I mean, really think about what's good about it, and teaching them about gratefulness. And so I run programs, and I just host a lot of breast cancer tournaments around. I'm originally from Nebraska, so I usually go back and do something every summer, and then we do lots of programs here in Arizona. And I just donate my time and for keynote speakers, and just tell my story. And my story is just a story, but it tends to help people, or especially women, just understand that, wow, it is a gift, and it's just how you look at it and what you do with it. So that's what Golf for Life is about, because life is about it. It's just life is a gift, and you got to cherish it every moment.
Well said, and congratulations as well. The other thing, Sue, I think that also it helps a lot of other women is someone to relate to. When they hear your story, for instance, and some of the different challenges that you had gone through, and how you have handled it in a positive way. You're not looking at it, as you said, as death. You're looking at it as a new life and a different beginning, really. And I think that helps women understand, other women that may be going through or have gone through the same, struggles that you may have gone through in your journey. Just gives them a new outlook, if you will, on their lives. And that's got to be certainly very rewarding for you.
Yes, it really, it's more rewarding than, I'll have to say, when a beginner hits that perfect golf shot in the sweet spot, because when you just see that, their face after you talk to them about my story, and you listen to their story, and you just ask them, what do you want to focus on and what's good about this, and they just have that aha moment, like, wow, I never really thought about it that way. And right then and there, their life has changed, because they're going to look at things differently, and they're going to make a different decision based on their gratefulness versus based on their fear.
Right, exactly.
That's so true. So true. Which boils back down to mindset,
Absolutely.
Are you grateful or are you griping,
Right. It's just a question of being mindful of really what are you focusing on? because we all know that where our focus goes, our energy flows. That's the way our brain's wired. It's whatever we give energy to is what's going to happen. It's just like a golf shot. If you're standing over a par 3 and there's water in front and there's a bunker on the left and a bunker on the right, and all you're thinking about is all the hazards around it, and you have your brain, there's no way the body is going to take a golf ball to that green. It's going to go somewhere else because you're going to manipulate the swing because of fear, versus standing over the shot and all you're focusing is on the green, and that's all you're focused on. There's no internal distraction. There's no external distraction. Our bodies are amazing and on how our nervous system is wired, and you better be careful what you're thinking about, because our thoughts are things, and they come to be.
Right. I had a chuckle earlier, Sue. I don't know if you caught any of the earlier part of the program, but Jackie Stoelting was our very special guest. She's a recent winner again on the Symetra Tour. And I asked her, her sort of strengths and weaknesses of the game, and her weak area, if you will, if you want to call it that, was bunker play. And I said, well, how do you handle that? And she said, I just don't hit it in the bunker. And really,
right.
It kind of goes to what you're saying. If she's not sitting there, even though she knows that that's not a strong area of her game, she doesn't dwell on it. She doesn't let it sort of, sink into her mind and fester and say, oh no, I better not hit it in the bunker. She just plays in such a way, and her mindset is, I'm not going to hit it in the bunker. But she knows how to handle herself if she does, but at the same time, She doesn't let her mind, and that's the problem, I think, with a lot of amateurs is, as you just pointed out, they see all of these different hazards and potential hazards, and they're not focusing, okay, where do I want the ball to go? They're focusing on where don't I want the ball to go.
Exactly, and that's just understanding mindfulness is like, even understanding that statement, what you just said, is like, where you focus on. Are you focused on what you don't want, or are you focusing on what you do want? And a very basic question is, when you're standing over a golf ball in a pre-golf shot, ask yourself, what do I really want? That basic question is just, and keep asking yourself, even if you have to ask yourself 3 different times, what do I really want? Well, I want to go there. I want to go there. I want to go there. Versus the question is, okay, there's a bunker on the left, and don't miss it left, and don't miss it right, and da-da-da-da-da. They're all focused on what they don't want. Just like in life, focus on what you want, and then why do you want it? Like, well, I want to go there because it'll give me a better angle into the green, whatever that is. But unfortunately, amateurs, they focus too much on what they don't want versus what they do want.
Right, exactly. Let me ask you just sort of a final question, if I can, and I thought this would be kind of interesting to ask somebody that's in the profession. You've worked with a lot of greats in the game. You've worked with Catherine Roberts and her company, and the Golf Channel, and the EWGA. Of course, you do a lot of work there, and John Jacobs. Let me ask you something. Having worked with so many different great men and women in the golf industry, what do you think you've learned from them? You've obviously helped them with their organizations and that, but what do you think you've learned from all of the different people that you've had the opportunity to work with?
I've learned that I'm still learning, because there are so many great people out there in our industry and outside of our industry that you can learn about yourself and how to empower yourself. I learn from them every day. That's why I'm a lifelong learner. And I think once you stop learning, you're dying. And I just think that, with Catherine, with her Yoga for Golf, the mind-body is so intrigued. She came to me, just a quick little story, she came to me 15 years ago, right before my breast cancer. I was a director of instruction. I was going through my 6 weeks of recovery on my double mastectomy, and she called our golf course then. I said, I can't even swing a club, I can't stand putt, but I'll meet with you, and she taught me how to breathe. Literally on the putting green, she taught me how to breathe correctly, and it was amazing. So that's just a prime example. So, I would advise everyone, don't be afraid don't think that, hey, I have it all and I'm ready and I have the secret. There is no secret. It's about lifelong learning right. From each other. I've learned so much from everyone. I mean, I could tell you stories and stories and stories, but that's what it's about. It's about, connecting with other people. We're human beings. We need to have connection, and learning from each other is so powerful. because you can take it into your own life and say, how can I apply this positively, no matter what happens with the relationship that you have with someone. The bottom line is, what kind of relationship do you want with yourself first? And that happens on the golf course.
That's not funny, but it is. Hello.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
That's true. Cindy, any final thoughts or comments or questions that you have?
No, but thank you so much, Sue. This was great. I so appreciate you sharing with us and being our guest today, because we all needed to hear this.
Well, I appreciate it and the opportunity, just to share the message and keep promoting the game, in a different way. And, let me know how else I can be of service. And I just wish you both continued success with the show. And again, let me know how I can help. And that's what we're all here for.
Thank you so much.
We would love to have you come back on and spend a little bit more time with us, and we'll definitely do that here before too long. But on behalf of Cindy and I, thank you very, very much. We appreciate you giving of your time, and just keep going and doing the great work that you're doing, and enjoy this life journey.
Yes, you as well, and just keep changing your brain and changing your game. It's in everything and every aspect of your life.
All right.
That's for sure.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Have a great one, Sue.
All right. Hey, you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Wow, what a great, inspiration, to as she said, what a positive message, really. As she said, it's not, she looks at really as a blessing, receiving the cancer and dealing it the way that she did. And I just think that's fantastic. And that's really why, one of the reasons I wanted to bring that up and talk about it, because, it isn't the end of life, for many out there. It's an opportunity really to learn and grow from it. So great story, and she's a great individual. And we want to thank all of you. Cindy, it's good to have you back. I missed you. It was fun to to talk again. I know you've got lots of great things for the rest of the week out there to do, and many young minds to help mold and shape. So please do that. And on behalf of Cindy Miller and myself, I'm Ted Odorico, and we are truly honored and blessed to have all of you join us each and every week. And we want to help get you to spread the word and let you know that we're here to stay. We want to continue to help grow women's golf and have some great guests on the show each and every week. So spread the word. Go to blogtalkradio.com/women of golf. Share that link as many times as possible and say, this is some great programming that's going to be here every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, just for us women. So you get out there and do that. We'll be more than happy to keep it growing. So thank you very much on behalf of Cindy Miller and I, and we will see you next week. Cindy, thank you, and God bless.
Thanks, Ted. Have a great week.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.